The November 2020 ISIL attack on a university in Kabul, Afghanistan has gone unnoticed or ignored, even despite the staggering death toll of nearly 24 lives and many more wounded. American news networks have ignored reporting the emergence of the growing ISIL threat in this region for the past several years. In that time, the Taliban terrorist leaders have not only been murdering Afghan civilians and attacking Afghan security forces, they also initially gave safe refuge to ISIL fighters seeking new terrorist camps. In 2017, Trump's disastrous white flag policy of surrendering to Taliban terrorists was introduced, as he sat across the table with Taliban leaders who were more than happy to negotiate Trump's capitulation in the name of his White House. Worse still, despite these actions that American right-wingers and Tea Party radicals had once falsely raged and accused Obama of doing, Trump is getting a free pass for surrendering to Taliban terrorists without any media exposure. Whereas Obama simply took over the U.S. withdrawal timeline in Iraq, that President Bush was obliged to accept with the Iraqi government in 2008, to avoid a looming Iraqi civil war. In contrast, Trump has given ISIL in Afghanistan a clear timetable of the U.S. retreat from Afghanistan. This was something in particular Trump had squawked about against Obama in criticizing the U.S. pullout from Iraq. Benedict Trump betrayed the Kurds in Iraq and Syria. In 2014, Obama had deployed U.S. military and humanitarian support for Kurds fighting the ISIS threat across Syria and Iraq. When Trump took over, he ordered a destructive and merciless building-raising military strategy that killed thousands of civilians in brutal urban warfare. The American and Western media never mentioned those ongoing atrocities, nor did they tell the full story of that campaign. Americans were led to believe ISIS was defeated by Trump, but in fact Trump simply pulled out before ISIS was wiped out. In Syria, the Syrian government and their Russian allies continued the fight against ISIS holdouts in more brutal battles, causing many more civilian deaths. Worse still, when Trump pulled out U.S. military forces, he absolutely had no intention of safeguarding the regional Kurds who had fought against ISIS. As a result of this treachery, Iraq, Turkey, and Syria then sent their armies in to take over large areas of Kurdish territory. Benedict Trump's notorious treachery has allowed ISIS to find new camps around the world. The threat in Afghanistan is the worst. Although Trump's negotiation with Taliban terrorists was supposed to ensure the Taliban would battle with ISIL fighters, the blundering policy has emboldened ISIL to establish new bases in Afghanistan, much like Al Qaeda found its sanctuary there 20 years ago. History repeats itself. The November 2020 ISIL attack on the Kabul University should be exposed to highlight a clear and present danger, caused much by Benedict Trump's white flag policy in that unstable region.